Welcome back to Scoop the Hoop. Toby's not here today. We had to sacrifice him in order to summon Matt.
Yeah, I'm back.
Matt is here.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for, I don't know, like an hour and a half or so.
He was in a coma, folks. There's his leg on the screen.
Yep.
We're just gonna zoom that out periodically throughout the episode.
And there.
Alright. So, I'll introduce the first story. Jurassic Park, the original script.
We're doing this in honour of the new, Jurassic Park movie. We're going to read some Jurassic Park Creepypasta. Did I say honour? I mean contempt.
Utter contempt. I'm a huge
Let's weaponise the raptors with this laser beam. Just use the fucking gun.
Of the Jurassic Park franchise. I love the first movie.
Much like everyone else.
The second film was good. Wrong. The third one was alright. Wrong. And Jurassic World was incredible. It was incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredibly bad.
It's actually his, subconscious actively crushing his own windpipe.
Anyways, I was recently searching for Jurassic Park related things. Facts, trivia, etc.
Erotic fan fiction,
I came
vor.
across a website. There's got to be so much vor, hasn't there, for Jurassic Park? I came across a website.
As the Adonis Rex swallowed me into its tight, warm throat, I couldn't help but pop a raging Jurassic boner.
I decided to order a few things. I decided on a poster. The Jurassic World novelisation is something interesting I found.
It's just screaming.
Sort of an in-depth sort of
breakdown.
Really breakdown of the little sort of nod between the T-Rex and the Raptor at the end, and all the subtext involved.
Yeah.
But Blue's so loyal, apart from the 3 or 4 times she betrayed me.
Fucking terrible movies. Terrible. God.
I'll just turn your brain off. Like, why? I don't need to turn my brain off when I'm watching something good.
So I
like the first Jurassic Park. I have advanced character studies in the Jurassic World novelisation. For example, this is Star-Lord. He is totally not Indiana Jones and like motorbike. This is Ginger Girl who cannot act. She is scientist and talks robot.
May in fact be a bit of wood with some wig on it.
She is able to run in high heels, which is physically impossible.
I saw somebody who couldn't fucking walk in high heels. Alright, it was graduation. We're going to get onto the story eventually. Graduation week in Canterbury last week. And there was this girl, and God bless her, because she looked like the typical Instagram thought, like lots of makeup, you could see her nipples. And she was wearing high heels. But she'd clearly never worn high heels. It was a strange thing. She was walking in a sort of squatted position and was walking very slowly, trying not to fall. She was with her family. She was just kind of lurching forward. I'm making it sound like she had cerebral palsy. She was normal.
I mean, was she?
But it was just like she just couldn't wear heels. It was
it
would just be like some fat girl or some goth or something.
It sounds like she has rickets.
But no, there was clearly nothing wrong with her legs. You could tell.
Okay.
It's just that. Like I was saying, if she was like a goth or something like that, you'd be like, okay, she's obviously never worn heels. But this was like someone who was like one of the popular kids at school, but just never took the occasion to wear heels. It was the strangest fucking thing.
And while she was like squatting trying to walk, I walked past, just dropped trying to get on my fucking level. Look at me walking. I'm missing a chunk of my fucking leg.
Yeah, Matt, let's see you do it in high heels though.
I'll make it look fabulous.
I tell you what, guys, you
I have such slim ankles.
Get enough $20 donations on the Patreon. Matt'll walk in high heels.
Didn't say when.
It'll be when we do our video tribute to the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Can't wait to find that creepypasta.
Oh Christ, yeah, creepypasta.
Alright.
Oh, we almost went back to Pasta Cast.
Something interesting I found. It was a supposed original script. I knew it was probably just a fake script.
It had Batman hack all the internets.
All of it took about a week and a half to get to my house. I framed the poster and put it up on my wall, put the book on the shelf and pulled out the script. It looked pretty old. It had a few tears and an old looking colour. I started reading the script. It was mainly just stuff like, Ian, what they got in there, King Kong? Just lines and stuff from the film. Nothing too different. But then I noticed something.
I kept vomiting blood while reading it.
There was a sentence in the script that caught my eye. It read, "The Velociraptor bites Tim." Now, if you have seen Jurassic Park, you would know that Tim was the little boy and doesn't die in the film.
Unfortunately. So this is the improved version.
And the raptors never even touch him. But what was this about a raptor biting him? As I read on, I saw lines like this.
Alan.
Okay, so this is Alan speaking. Where's Tim?
Ellie is crying. I cannot cry on
Ellie,
two.
where is Tim?
He's dead!
Oh, God!
Crikey, mate.
$100 reduce.
This is John Hammond over the phone.
John, over the phone. Where is Tim? Is he okay? Alan, where is my grandson?
Why are you running?
I read about how they struggled to tell John, the creator of the park, that his young grandchild was dead. I didn't know if this was supposed to happen, or if it really was just a fake script. However, towards the end of the script, I saw copyright 1992.
Making it official.
Definitely was real. I've got a real Roman coin. It says 40 BC on it, so I know it's the real deal.
It's like 40 BC.
It may take people a moment to figure that one out.
Before coins.
Jurassic Park came out in 1993, which means they would have had enough time to change the script. I don't know why Steven Spielberg, then in parentheses, the director. I know who Steven Spielberg is.
Who? Who's a small-time director? Sounds a bit Jewish to me.
Perhaps he would have wanted Jurassic Park to be a darker film. Well, no, because the book is far darker than the finished product. And if you know a thing about Steven Spielberg, you know you probably wouldn't want to make a really scary film about dinosaurs. Or maybe the script is a fake, but I doubt I'll ever know it's fake. Thank you for reading my experience. Written by Conquer the Squirrel 101.
Oh no, this was Conker's work?
Oh no!
Alright, there's 7 comments as well.
I thought Jurassic Park was already a dark film. Well, this pasta is not creepy at all. Not that it's bad, it's an interesting concept, executed in a poor way. A creepypasta about a movie script is a good idea. I'd just like it to be somewhat better. I'd give this a 4 out of 10. It is not the worst pasta I've read, but it's far from the best.
Green-eyed Dan writes, I like this pasta.
And then the author just replied with, yay, and a smiley face.
And then he's like, I wrote this story. And then someone's like, I see.
That's wonderful. He's like, yeah, Conquer the Squirrel, I wrote this story. Megatune, I see. And Cooper Crew goes on to say, well, yeah, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Krab. So did you really find the script, or is it just a story? And it's like, defeated, it's just a story. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Alright, it's called Behind the Line of Trees. When my grandpa died, I thought it was a long time coming. Don't get me wrong, it was a tragedy, but it wasn't exactly unexpected. He was an old man, his mind half gone, living alone in a house nearly 30 miles out from the nearest town.
What a fucking vile way to word that.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming.
It's about bloody time, if you ask me.
Fucking old bastard.
It's like, don't get me wrong, it was a tragedy.
Did it turn out like
I expected it to happen?
It turned out that he had this TV, and then his mate, he went away for a bit, and then his mate swapped it round.
Oh god, that story. Like HD death. His mind half gone, living alone in a house nearly 30 miles out from the nearest town. When the news came in that someone had found him in his home, dead for at least 2 weeks, I was saddened, but not surprised. So you didn't check on him for 2 weeks, yet you thought he was going to die? Well, anyway, having just got a liberal arts degree at the University of Oklahoma...
Oh, so you're doing something far more important.
Oh, yes.
Well, so, what the fuck is liberal... I've always, like, you know, what, liberal arts as opposed to what? Fascist arts.
You fucking beat me to the punch. I was literally about to make a very similar joke.
I wrestled for a while with the idea of moving into his old house. My parents didn't want it. They didn't really want to rent it out, and it was nicer than anything that I would able to afford for years on. Finally, in April of this year, I swallowed my fears and moved into the place. My brother Ben decided to come with me, since he had just had a bad break. With his live-in girlfriend, and needed a place to stay for a few months until he could get back on his feet.
Get back on that little platform that his feet stand on. Don't worry, like, because your uncle's going to get you to fucking drown him anyway. Give you some beer in exchange for it.
Just like it all take place in the same
Literally,
cinematic universe.
Like, we were talking about Infinity, because Matt's Matt's come out of hospital fairly recently and has been catching up on everything. So recently saw Infinity War. So the things we're talking about is like the
Creepypasta cinematic universe,
where they all that it does exist. Link in the description.
Like the whole old house was large enough that I would have felt wrong saying no. Before our grandfather's mind had started to go, he had quite a bit of money. I never really saw him a lot growing up, since he lived a few hundred miles to the south of us in eastern Texas. Still, I remember the presents he bought us all for Christmas and for birthdays and whatnot.
I remember them fondly, but I wasn't, fond enough to ring him up every week and check how he was.
Usually they were a lot better than what our parents could afford. He pitched in when I got my first car, agreeing to pay for half as long as it wasn't some rice burner, as he put it.
I keep thinking of that scene from Bubba Hotep where he's like, Daddy seemed like a nice guy. He's like, yeah, but not enough so you'd come and see him. So yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, pretty much.
I think I'll jump in for a bit now, if that's all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
No one would ever claim that he was a perfect old man, or that we didn't have our falling outs. But he helped me to get a brand new F-150. So that's what is that, a jet? What is
Of a Formula 1 car.
This house was just a last birthday present. I thought to myself, on the day I moved in, a few months early, sure, and in a little bit of an inopportune spot, but it didn't even really need a lot of work. The upstairs bedroom had been completely scraped out by the police department from out in Silver Springs for reasons that I didn't particularly want to think about, but other than that, it was really nice.
That's because you left him lying on the ground for 2 weeks before you didn't find.
The police had to stop by. So, was he murdered?
Mm-hmm.
Our first night there.
I just want to hear, I'm sorry to say that your grandfather has been brutally, viciously, horrifically. I don't want to hear about it. Oh, well, he's dead. I'm moving into this place.
I was like, he's left me this house. What a great birthday present. I'm sure this is what he was.
Everything's
intending.
coming up, Millhouse.
I really am not liking this protagonist, I'm
No.
going to say.
It could be worse. He could be letting there's a guy down the road who's letting his wife get murdered in the shower.
Yeah.
You okay in there, lady?
There's another guy who's married a woman who murdered her kids and didn't bother looking in the basement.
Yes.
Still takes place
How many of our own episodes can we actually remember?
Down the road, there's this kid who got sent off to a juvie hall because his brother punched someone or something.
Actually, took me a moment to figure out what you were referencing. We've been doing this for too long. Our first night there, Ben and I just dragged in our mattresses, a television set, and my old Xbox 360. We sat up late that night, just messing
Then we
around.
went down to a boot fair and got a copy of Our Real Monsters.
Because neither of us really wanted to go to sleep. After we got done with the racing game that was the only thing both of us could agree on, we sat up and talked for a while about how life had gone since we'd moved away from home. Pretty much the only subject we never broached was the reason why our grandpa had died. We just said it wasn't unexpected.
He was in debt to the mob.
It was a long time coming. They'd already broken his thumbs and both his knees.
He kept it's just like he stole some money from a Mexican cartel. That's why they had to clean up the room.
He had been a brilliant old man, even with his problems. The head of a software company before his retirement, it had only been in the past few months that he had begun to show signs of senility, and he had gone downhill fast. A month before the end, he had called home talking about the past, about watching the devil stand under an apple tree when he was a child.
What we didn't realise is that he had schizophrenia all his life, and that he only just started talking about it till now.
After that, he didn't contact us at all, or anyone else for that matter. He went out from dehydration after apparently flipping every circuit in his house and making it to where the water couldn't pump. To say the least, it was disturbing to think about. Maybe I dreamed about him that first night, and maybe I didn't. I'm not sure anymore. I know that I did several of the nights after that, though. He went from being the old man who I remember to being a desiccated corpse right before my eyes in those dreams.
Still killed by Mexicans.
It was like watching someone mummify. I'm sure that it was because of my own fears at the time, since I had just gotten over a mild cancer scare. Luckily my granddad was there to help me through. I probably should have called him. I had a nervous disposition, and finding a mysterious lump on my leg hadn't helped matters. By the way, folks, how are you enjoying that picture of Matt's leg? Is it?
There's no lumps on that one, or skin.
The next day, whether I had one of those dreams or not, we started bringing in more things. There wasn't really a whole lot of my stuff, since I'd been living in a dorm for 4 years. Ben dragged in 2 computers, several bookshelves worth of paperbacks, and a treadmill for some reason. By the end, it looked
like...
like
a big pool to drown in.
He was the one living there, and I was the guest. We went into town later on that day and got some food, along with a 12-pack of Pepsi and a 6-pack of Coors.
Don't you mean a 12-pack of Peppers?
4-pack of Dr. Pepper and some brown sauce.
Like a 6-pack of Coors, what you mean, like water? It was on arriving that morning that I realised something was a little off about that house. We pulled into the driveway, hopped out of my brother's Mazda, and we are midway to the house before I noticed for the first time that no birds were chirping. There was an open...
Okay, I just want to stop you for a second. Like, what the fuck does this have to do with Jurassic Park?
I know.
Wait, did you find this on the Jurassic Park?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. There was an open field behind the house, going back maybe a few hundred yards to the forest. Normally I would have expected to hear some wildlife, but nothing stirred behind the line of trees.
He said it! He said it!
Title drop. I mentioned the eerie quiet to Ben, and he joked that maybe Slender Man had stolen all the birds.
Oh, fuck you.
What?
See, it's funny on so many levels because it's a creepypasta and Slender Man.
Honestly, as a joke, it was even weaker than it should have been. Ben had...
Then why did you write it?
Ben had noticed that the quiet was deeper than it had been the day before as well. We sat up that night, but Ben whipped out one of his college textbooks on
thank God.
European democracy.
Is that what they call it? He says, like, I'm going to whip out my Ben Franklin. Well, I'm going to whip out my...
Surely the author means whipped out textbooks on Europe and one on democracy. I can't imagine there's
One on Europe.
European democracy. That doesn't... Because it's not a thing. Fuck Europe.
Yes. So it was just me playing Halo alone.
So just flipping through that book and it's like, it's just a lot about kings in this.
I shut the volume off once after Ben had gone to sleep in his own room, and I listened for the sound of crickets chirping. There was nothing. I opened my window and looked out over the fields where fireflies would normally have been flickering this time of year. Nothing but darkness and the stars greeted my roving eyes. I was saying moving eyes? Roving eyes. I went to sleep that night and know that I had one of the dreams.
I mean, he's supposed to make this sound ominous because, like, there's no bugs and there's no birds constantly chirping. Sounds like a fucking paradise to me.
Yes.
Like, yeah, times I get woken up at night, like, it's like, you know, I wake up at night, try to go back to sleep, but I can't because there's like 500 fucking birds chirping at 3 in the morning. Fuck off, birds! Chirp during the day when I'm not trying to fucking sleep.
I was like, I'm really... It's like, that literally, it's like when I went and looked for Jurassic Park one, this was right underneath the other one that I just saw, and it was like, on the one for Jurassic Park, and I'm just like, what? Are you going to mention it at the end of the story?
I don't think this has anything to do with it.
That makes it funnier.
It probably just clicked because it was like, related.
There's a bit.
Adonis Rex is the murderer.
There is, if you go a bit further down.
Okay. He hunts for sport.
Yeah. Right.
And can turn invisible.
The next few weeks were okay. We got everything completely set up, cleaned out whatever there was to clean around the house, and discovered a box of my grandpa's old things in the attic. Most of it was stuff from the time he spent in Japan during World War II, including his collection of medals. One of them was a Purple Heart. I loved that old man. Did you, though? Even though I might not
Well, you said you loved him.
Again, I'm thinking back to Bubba Hotep with the Purple Heart and the chocolates.
So even though I might not always sound like it, I had a funny way of expressing it at times, but I really did care about him deeply, because he bought me loads of stuff and left me this giant house.
And I didn't talk to him.
It was the middle of May. It was the middle of May that we started having real problems. Hey, why does a Brachiosaurus know what a boat is and understands that it could take him away and rescue him and is upset that it's not doing that?
That's a good question. Another question is, how can a man run through a cloud of volcanic ash and not immediately die?
That really bothers me, because I the first thing that I thought was like, you will never escape a pyroclastic cloud.
And then he doesn't escape it. It completely engulfs his body. And should burn him in like half a... No, it's like... a couple of 100 million degrees or something like that.
You would die instantly as soon as that thing touched you.
Yeah.
I'm not a geologist or someone who studies volcano, but something...
Volcanologist.
Yeah, volcanologist. That is a metal title, but you know, if here's something like, for anyone who doesn't know, lava, it's not like in video games where you touch it and you die, because it's molten rock and it's giving off a shitload of heat. If you go near it, you're going to die. Yeah,
I have a bonfire I have a fire pit in the garden that I made. Like, if you push the coals around a little bit with like a metal stick, it's really hot. You don't want to stand too close to it. That's just coal. That's just hot coal, and you don't want to get your hand too close to it.
I'm so glad that we have to explain what fire and heat is.
I wanted to be a volcanologist when I grew up. Like, I studied them for like a long. Like, I studied them when I was younger. So like, that was just one of the first things that you look at.
Also, I want to bring up another point I mentioned earlier. But if you can train a velociraptor to attack people by pointing a laser attached to a gun at something, you could probably just use the fucking gun, because you don't need to feed it like 400 pounds a meat a day.
Yeah, but Matt, don't forget the Soviets used rats in the war, so that's totally the same.
You know, war elephant, velociraptor, because they keep using war elephants today. You know, like the American armies just employed fucking tiger riders.
We still use cavalry after it was such a success in the First World War. We just haven't stopped. I remember Ben saying that he thought he saw an albino deer up in the woods. He sat on the back porch that evening watching the forest, but nothing moved. As darkness began to fall, a breeze started to come out from the southeast, off the distant Gulf of Mexico. I thought that maybe I had saw something, for a split second in the undergrowth near ground level, but it didn't look like a deer.
Looked like a migrant worker.
I talked Ben into following me in the house, and I slept fitfully that night. Something about what I saw haunted me, although I wasn't sure what it was yet. The next morning, we had to take another trip into town. This time it wasn't for supplies, but to watch some movie that Ben has been going on about for weeks. Please tell me it's Jurassic Park. As a result, we got home late that night. It was waiting for us in the driveway. I only saw it for a second before the lights in my truck cut out, but I could have drawn police sketches for the rest of my life from the thing. It looked like something like a human being, only it was nearly 8 feet tall. Its skin was stretched tight over its bones and muscle, and it looked lean, paradoxically both like it was emaciated and terribly strong.
Is it the fucking rake?
The hair on its head was thin and scraggly, and its eyes were hollow black pits. I hadn't seen the claws yet, since they were hidden by the front of my truck, but I could see its teeth, and they are what I remember most about this thing. Its mouth was open like it had come unhinged, and it was full to the brim with knives. When the lights cut out, Ben looked over at me, and in the gloom I could see the expression of pure terror on his face. The thing was still visible in the darkness. Outside, a darker shadow in the night. We both stared at one another, and it seemed unwilling to make a move. I don't know what time it was, because I couldn't see my watch, and it very likely wasn't functioning anyway. It became obvious as the minutes dragged on into hours, though, that this thing was standing there for a reason other than toying with us. Somehow, it couldn't see us.
It turns out that...
You might say its vision was based on movement.
I was just hoping that it turns out that's like Mr. Jenkins from down the road, and he's just got a terrible skin condition, and like, you know, you can see his claws because he was holding a gift basket. Welcome to the neighbourhood.
When morning started to dawn red on the horizon behind the house, I was afraid that its vision would improve, but it still just stood there. With better light, I could see that Ben was crying. Tears streaked down his face as that thing stared at us, unmoving and hungry. I remembered then watching a movie when I was younger, Jurassic Park. What a thing to think about when a monster is staring at you.
Yes.
Like, oh man, does anybody remember?
Oh, well, you've been there for hours. You're a bit bored. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh, it's still staring at me.
Hey Ben, you seen Jurassic Park lately? Like, what are you talking about? Oh man, that was really. We should rent that when we get back. When we're not in this situation, you know. What's also like, you know, like there's a monster standing in front of, like, there's an unknown creature standing in front of you. Like, it hasn't seen us. Maybe if we move it, wait. Jurassic Park, the most scientifically accurate film ever made.
I've just had this image of me and Gemma like hiding from a home invader. He's got like an axe. We're like hiding in a cupboard, like my hands over my mouth so they can't hear my breathing, and then Gemma's going, Jacob, you ever see that movie Contact?
Oh God, that movie was terrible.
What? That movie Contact? You wait to see the alien, but it's a father.
Wait, the whole goddamn movie. And then the axe murderer's like, oh man, I hated that movie. Like, that's such a crappy ending. And then he just walks out in disgust.
I love that as a, like, while whispering, that I sound more Scottish than I actually do in real life.
Gemma, there's no way you can sound any more Scottish than you already do.
The T-Rex in that movie just stood by when its prey wouldn't move, counting on them to budge before it did, because its brain wasn't wired up to see anything but movement. The real T-Rex may not have been like that, but with the dawning of the day, it clicked that this thing probably was. That, I realised, was why my grandfather had died of dehydration in his own house. This thing had caused the power to shut off. It had short-circuited the breaker and then just waited for it. How did it see all the breakers if they weren't moving? That's what I don't...
Yeah... That's what...
Well, his car shut down, so he's got some sort of anti-tech field or some bullshit.
The sun rose in the sky, and Ben sat alone in the truck, with the Watcher staring at us for nearly 4 more hours.
Oh yeah, I've got Jurassic Park. We're going to watch it on Blu-ray. Which Blu-ray?
We'll watch the 2013 one. No!
It's just like, everything's orange. Why?
It's like, oh, by the way, right, the fucking the more recent Blu-ray with the really ugly front cover of Jurassic Park. If you haven't bought Jurassic Park on Blu-ray yet, don't get that one. Get the classic ones with the Universal logo at the top and the normal Jurassic Park logo on the front, because otherwise you'll have a film where they've given them digital haircuts and cropped the screen all weird. And like everything's orange, and you can't see what's going on. It was fucking terrible.
And they just edit in Samuel L. Jackson into like people are like you wasted him in that film, so they just edit into more scenes.
I was like,
he's in every scene.
They add more smoke in the scene where he's smoking. They take strands of hair out, like distracting strands of hair out.
Do they replace all the guns with walkie-talkies?
It is that kind of edit. It's just really weird.
Why would they do it? Like, it's like some sort of like spot the difference version.
Pretty much. It's just a George Lucas kind of thing. You know, you look at it, you're like, what's the point of this?
I don't like the way his legs are so hairy in this scene. Like, shut the fuck up, Spielberg. Shut your fucking mouth.
Like the colour grade looks really ugly. Like they've tried to make it match Jurassic World. I'm like, no, make the. I hate when they do this. They did this with the Star Wars original trilogy. I'm like, make the new ones match the old ones.
Put Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost in every scene of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, don't change the old movies to match the new ones. Like, why do that? I'm bored. You read some more, Gemma.
Alright, I'll read some more. Where are we? Higher the sun rose in the sky. I and Ben sat alone. I and Ben sat alone in that truck with...
You just kept getting confused because you thought it was going to be I and Brew.
It's like, just like I and Ben. Was that like me and Ben? Or...
No, because that's
Matt,
not...
I went into the pound shop the other day, right? They're having a clearance sale of the pound shop in Canterbury because it's closing down. And the fridge, they sold all cold drinks except Iron Brew, which was now like 24p, and they still couldn't shift it.
Not enough Scottish people around here.
You should have bought me some.
You don't want to be seen in public holding an Iron Brew, get arrested.
You could have bought me 5 for £1.
Clearly he doesn't love you.
Coulda.
Without power, the air conditioner wouldn't run, and the electric windows wouldn't roll down. Not that I really trusted them anyway. It was 11 o'clock in the morning when Ben looked at me, shook his head, and cracked the door slightly. I stared in wide-eyed terror, but Ben turned to the door. Slowly he creaked it open and stepped out. I watched as he closed the door and the thing moved its head towards him. Still, it didn't quite seem to realise where he was. Ben walked forward, every movement careful and measured. He was less than 3 feet from the thing, and it sensed just enough motion to turn its head towards him. I watched as he walked past it, the thing unmoving and largely unseeing. I really thought that Ben was going to make it to the house. Then, he stepped on a twig.
Because it could only see, movement.
Like the T-Rex.
It saw the
like
twig.
Jurassic Park. It took all I had not to scream as I watched the thing cover the short distance between itself and him in one bounding leap, then knock him to the ground. Its claws appeared then, fierce obsidian blades. Ben screamed, and I heard that thing howling like a wolf from hell. It was evening before I finally became conscious of the world again. When I did, I realised something. My truck was running. I kicked it into reverse as fast as I could, backing out the long driveway from my grandfather's house. 2 years down the road, everyone thinks that he was killed by a bear. They keep telling me that what I saw wasn't really what happened, that I just mistook a common animal for a monster. I'll always remember when that thing looked back at me one last time though. I don't think that I could ever forget what lives behind the line of trees.
Jurassic Park is frightening in the dark!
Yeah, there's a couple of comments. This was really good. Holy crap, I was captivated the whole time. It takes a lot to do that 10 out of 10.
I don't think it does. Well, maybe some jingling keys will captivate.
And it was full to the brim with knives. You mean that literally or figuratively? Yeah, that was a funny moment, I thought. This one wasn't that bad. Too much unnecessary detail. And the atmosphere doesn't work all that well because, they kind of... There's an attempt at a build-up of, the birds aren't chirping and things like that. But the protagonist isn't likeable. The way he speaks with a certain weird contempt, what is supposed to sound respectful to his granddad, just threw me off.
Just kind of sounds like a douche. Like, there's also disappointing lack of like. It's basically just like The Rake, but he's got Jurassic Park vision.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
And it was like, oh, I stole an idea from Jurassic Park, but I'll write that I got it from Jurassic Park so it sounds cooler. Like, people do that sometimes. They go, oh, this, when he tells the bad joke, this was a bad joke even by his standards. I'm like, well, why did you?
You could do that, or you could think of a good joke.
It doesn't develop the character in any way where you feel like, oh, this character makes bad jokes. That's kind of a thing. No. All in all, it's not that bad though. Like, considering the shit we read on this show, it's just fine. It's competently written. There's no glaring grammatical errors.
Congratulations, you didn't have needless graphic violence or any rape in it.
Yeah, it's just fine, and with a couple more drafts, it could really be improved and be quite an effective horror story.
This is as nice as we've been to anyone in a long time.
Oh yeah, Matt, you've been away for a while. The show's changing. Like, we're all mellowing out. We're getting older. You know what I mean?
Well, it's my job to bring back the dickishness.
Okay, so our thoughts on these quote-unquote Jurassic Park pastas. The first one actually was about Jurassic Park, and it was awful and had no point. The second one was not about Jurassic Park, but was significantly better.
And mentioned Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and briefly mentioned Jurassic Park. And as I mentioned, it's just fine and has potential, but at the moment it's nothing special. Matt?
I'd almost completely forgotten about the Jurassic Park one until like, oh right, it's just... I goes, oh, I found a script, but in it, Timmy was eaten by a dinosaur. Like, ooh, scared. Like,
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Literally, that I've summed up the entire fucking pasta for you. This one was it's like anti-tech rake fucks up some guy, and like you said, yeah, it's not like it's a lot like because I've been watching some of our old episodes, and it's like, yeah, this is significantly better. This is like if we had started off with this one, we may have been tricked into thinking like, oh yeah, creepypastas aren't all bad.
Yeah. Gemma?
Yeah, the first one was genuinely awful. Like, and then the second one, I liked the sort of what the monster was. I thought that was kind of cool. But it was just, again, a lot of unnecessary detail, and it found the dialogue quite clunky.
Thanks very much for watching, and a special thanks to our patrons, some of whom have their names on the screen right now. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, you can hit subscribe. You can click one of these other videos, or you can follow us on social media, or follow us home.
Don't follow us
and
home.
Hide in our closets.
Don't follow us home.